Hey, what's going on, crew leaders? Whether you lead middle schoolers, high schoolers, or somewhere in between, what you do, we believe, matters more than you know. And today, I want to talk to you about one simple thing that has an enormous impact in your role, and that is consistency with students. I'm not talking about perfection. I'm not talking about having all the answers. I'm talking about just showing up week after week. I want you to think back to your own life. Who was that one person in your life who was a constant, who just kept showing up for you? Maybe it was a coach, a teacher, a youth leader, or maybe even a parent or an older sibling. You probably don't remember every single word that they said, but you remember how they made you feel, how they were consistent, because they were consistent in your life. You see, that's the same kind of impact that you can have in the life of a student in your crew. See, there's this moment in Luke chapter 16, verse 10, where Jesus says this: whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. In other words, faithfulness in the small things, like showing up and listening and praying, leads to big kingdom-size impact. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 9 reminds us of this. It says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest when we don't give up." See, consistency is what keeps the seed in the ground long enough for it to grow. So let's talk about why this matters so much for students. You see, teenagers live in a world full of change and chaos. They're constantly navigating new schools, shifting friendships, breakups, questions on their identity, and so much more. And in the middle of all that chaos, you as their crew leader can be one of the only stable and reliable voices that they hear. You see, your consistency communicates something powerful. It communicates to a student that they matter, that they're not alone, that you're here for them, and more importantly, that God is here for them. See, sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is simply show up week after week, game after game, small group after small group. So let's talk about what consistency looks like. Consistency doesn't mean you have to have a deep theological conversation every time you meet. It can look like this: asking the same question every week, like, how's your week been? Remembering your student's dog's name, celebrating their wins no matter how big or how small. Maybe it's following up on something that they mentioned last time you were in group. Or maybe it's sending a text during the midweek to say, hey, I'm praying for you. I'm thinking about you. It's all about being present, even in the small things. You see, we believe that God uses consistency to build trust. Consistency, it builds trust, and trust opens the door for truth. Students aren't always going to open up the first time, or maybe even the fifth, but they're watching, they're noticing. And when the time comes, when life gets hard, when they have the questions about faith, or when they feel lost, they'll turn to the person who's always been there. And that might just be you as their crew leader. See, God is consistent with us. Let's not forget, God's consistent with us. In Lamentations chapter 3, verse 22 through 23, it says this: because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his mercies never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. God shows up for us over and over and over again, even when we don't notice it. And he invites us to reflect that same kind of faithful love to our students. So here's my challenge for you as you go into this week. Stay consistent, even if it feels small, even if students aren't engaging the way that you might have hoped, even if you wonder if it's even making a difference. We believe it is. Your presence is planting seeds. Your faithfulness is building bridges, and your consistency may be the very thing that leads a student closer in relationship to Jesus. So thank you. Thank you for showing up, and thank you for loving students like Jesus does. Keep going. You are making a difference.